This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. The recent killing of a man where 5 former Memphis police officers stand accused has reignited debate over the use of body cameras. In Winnipeg, police have called for that technology for years. Disagreements with the city over how to pay for body cameras has stalled plans to introduce them. But as CBC's Cameron McLean reports, the chair of the Winnipeg Police Board says using the cameras is not a question of if, but when. Now, we do have a warning. Some viewers might find some of the images in this story disturbing.
Looks like he's passed a couple cruisers.
They have eyes in the sky and on the street, and in some cities, an even closer angle as they investigate crime. Police services in the U.S. and in Canada are using body cameras, but they've been slow to come to Manitoba. The chair of the Winnipeg Police Board says the service is increasing digital evidence collection.
Body-worn cameras will fit right into that in terms of the digital evidence management piece. So that's something that we're looking at as well. Not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, as we're using technology more effectively.
Winnipeg police estimated it would cost about $7 million to buy the equipment and another $4 million annually. Police in Altona began using cameras in 2021. And the RCMP are testing cameras in Nova Scotia, Alberta, and Nunavut ahead of a national rollout over the next 12 to 18 months. The issue has taken on new urgency after Memphis police officers were charged in the death of Tyree Nichols. Police and community advocates have promoted the technology, but one expert says early evidence hasn't shown the cameras make much of an impact.
There was some initial research that was very promising. There was less use of force by police. There were less complaints by the public. But some of the more recent research shows no effects. There was even a study that shows an increase in use of force complaints.
So far, Winnipeg Council has told police if they want the cameras, they must find the money within their existing budget. But while there are no immediate plans to buy them, Winnipeggers can expect to see them at some point down the road. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
This has been a difficult week for more than a dozen people forced to flee an apartment fire. They're now living in a hotel near the Winnipeg airport, not sure when they'll be able to go home. The fire flooded their floor with smoke, and repairs may take quite some time. CBC's Matt Humphrey has more on their story.
I hope nobody ever has to live through it.
A boarded-up window and smoke-stained brick is all you can see of Thursday's early morning fire. But for Mark Poirier, the memory is burned into his mind.
Seeing the black smoke come from the bottom of the door and the top of the door, and trying to stick your head out the window, holding my cat's head out the window and trying to hold my mom and gasping for air. Not fun.
He lived on the 3rd floor of St. Josephat Cello Villa on McGregor Street with his elderly mother and elderly cat, Big Boy. His mother has a breathing condition and was one of 6 people sent to hospital for smoke inhalation. It all started when he heard the alarm.
I finally went to the door and opened it just maybe half an inch and seen smoke and yelled to my mom, "Fire."
Poirier was considering jumping out the window with his mother when firefighters finally rescued them. In the apartment next door, Alona Plojnik was worried for her own family. They've been in the building since September after fleeing the war in Ukraine.
We have to run at that time because our city started bombing, and then our city was occupied.
She, her daughter, and mother were rescued using a ladder through their 3rd-story window.
First of us went to daughter. Firemen help her, care about her when she go out. Be sure everything is okay. Firemen help you. Go.
Once the fire was out, they had a chance to grab essentials.
We have only 5 minutes to take necessary things.
Audrey Copley was one of many who called 911.
I come out of the suite when I heard the alarm system going off. I went on the 5th floor where I live. I looked out the window. I seen black smoke and sparks shooting out.
The property manager says it looks like the fire was caused by an electrical issue. Manitoba Housing says longer-term accommodations may be needed because repairs to the apartment floor may take a while. Matt Humphrey, CBC News, Winnipeg.
A 25-year-old man faces a charge of second-degree murder in connection with yesterday's death of a man who was found outside a Salvation Army shelter. Someone flagged down Winnipeg police around midnight and reported an injured man at Henry and Main. Paramedics rushed 56-year-old Clifford Earl Boss to hospital, where he was pronounced dead. Police arrested a suspect yesterday in the 100 block of Disraeli. Police are also investigating another homicide which happened just hours before. Late Wednesday night, police found a man who had been stabbed near a hotel at Main and Sutherland. He told police about another victim on Selkirk Avenue. Police found there the body of 40-year-old Lee James Boulette. He was found in a suite in the 100 block of Selkirk. No arrests have been made. For part of this weekend, the Health Sciences Centre's Sexual Assault Nurse Examiner program will have no nurses working. Staff say this is a sign the government is not moving quickly enough to fill staffing gaps. The CBC's Ian Fraze joins us now live from the newsroom with more on this. Ian, what happens when there's no staff?
Well, Janet, victims of sexual assault could be sent home. Despite the trauma they've experienced, they'll be told they cannot shower, cannot clean themselves off. Of course, this is a worst-case scenario, but nurses say it could happen this weekend at HSC. There are 40 hours beginning today without dedicated staff in the building. Nurses will be on call, but they may not always be available. Heather Dodora is a nurse with the program.
You know, last weekend or the weekend before, we had gaps in coverage, and we had to turn away or ask at least 4 patients to return back to see us, and we know 2 of those didn't. And 2 of those were homeless, very vulnerable women, one of which had her, threatened by her intimate partner of being killed.
In the last year, more nurses have been hired, but the nurses union says those hires are not specialized and it'll take up to a year to train them. Now, Shared Health says in regards to this weekend, there are doctors and nurses who can still see these patients, but sending them home is a situation they deeply regret.
Yeah, it sounds like it would be a terrible situation. Now, we do have some news that doctors are happy with today. The province is trying to eliminate some of their work, the type of duties one doctor calls soul-sucking. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's right. All the paperwork is that work that they're hoping to eliminate. The government provided details today on a new task force to reduce doctors' administrative work. Dr. Candice Bradshaw says she cannot wait for Manitoba to get started.
I can say I myself, as a family physician in the community, can already give you a big list of culprits that are taking up my time that I feel is redundant and could be eliminated or done by somebody else. So.
Dr. Bradshaw says she personally spends 2 to 3 hours a day on this paperwork. That's time she'd rather spend treating patients. Janet.
Thank you so much for this, Ian. That's the CBC's Ian Fraze reporting live from the newsroom tonight. The Manitoba NDP says the PC government is spending millions on private agency nurses trying to fill gaps in the healthcare system. Healthcare critic Uzoma Asagwara referenced government documents which show $4 million was spent on private agency fees in 1 year. The money went to cover healthcare staffing shortages in the city of Winnipeg. It doesn't include the Health Sciences Centre. Asagwara calls using private agencies an expensive Band-Aid and says that money would be better spent improving conditions for nurses who work in the public system.
The bottom line here is that instead of investing in the public healthcare system, strengthening public healthcare, making sure that nurses are retained and recruited in the public healthcare system, this government is instead focusing their energy and Manitobans' resources on private for-profit agencies. And that is simply not in the best interest of Manitobans and their healthcare system.
Asagwara says to avoid losing more healthcare staff to other provinces and to private agencies, the government needs to improve working conditions and repair trust. They say they've spoken to nurses who want to work in the public system, but first, wages and work-life balance would have to improve. Now, the Manitoba government is increasing funding for programs that help newcomers use their skills to grow our economy. The Labour and Immigration Minister announced $7.1 million in funding for the Newcomer Community Integration Support Program today. Projects funded through NCIS help newcomers settle in, find community, and work in their professions. Supporting Employment and Economic Development Winnipeg runs a program that provides financial support to highly skilled newcomers as they work to get their credentials recognized. SEED's Sandra Leone read a note today from a program participant.
Without any help, especially with the Recognition Counts program, definitely I would still be stuck with my survival job. Most likely, I would never be able to practice my profession, and that would be the greatest regret in coming here as an immigrant.
The minister in charge, John Reyes, says integrating newcomers is key to the economic development of this province and will help with labor shortages. The deadline for project applications is February 27th. A resident of the RM of Labrokery faces charges of illegal trapping after 2 dogs were killed on private property. The province says in November, a property owner near Labrokery reported 2 power snares placed on their land without permission. 2 dogs belonging to that property owner died in those traps. Manitoba Conservation laid charges of trapping on private land without permission and trapping in a manner dangerous to property. The accused faces a fine of up to $25,000 and up to 6 months in jail. Well, for the first time ever, Black History Manitoba has partnered with the Manitoba Museum for a First Fridays celebration of Black History Month. This free event started today at 4 p.m. and runs until 9. We sent our Emily Brass to the museum to show you what's happening there, and she joins us now live. Emily?
Hi, Janet. Wow, what an exciting atmosphere here right now. The museum has really come to life, all to celebrate Black History Month. There's tons going on. I've met so many interesting people so far. Among them, Nadia Thompson, who is the program director for Black History Manitoba. Nadia, tell us what's going on here.
We're having so much fun already, and it's still early. So on stage right now, we have the Drum Cafe, and they are just making us very warm in here. So that cold outside is not affecting us one bit. We've got a lot of great vendors here. This is basically a market for Black-owned and Black-led organizations. It's just been so much fun putting this together, and like you said, there's some wonderful people here. We thank everybody for coming out. We're here till 9 o'clock, so there's lots to do and lots to see. I invite everybody down. It's free.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much going on, and not just in this room, right? Other parts of the museum are also part of the celebrations. Tell us about that.
It's true. So the general museum is open there. The National Film Board is in the theater, and then in the planetarium, we've got the Nancy School of Performing Arts featuring Phenom that is going to be doing 3 performances this evening.
Wow. And also, like, the businesses, there's quite a range of different kind of tables here. Tell us about some of them.
There's everything. We've got arts and crafts from Jerome. We've got books from Tissame. We've got art from young people are doing an art project in the corner. We also have Norwec. We've got the Congress of Black Women. We've got Police Services, Service Canada. Virgin Radio is here. Miss Christine's Kitchen is cooking for us.
And that smells good,
doesn't it? There's a lineup though, but you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Come on down. You'll still get some food. Yeah. We also have Diaspora Cafe that has some coffee and sweets there. Miss Diane has her ice cream homemade. It is brilliant. You got to come try it. I know it's cold outside, but believe me, it's worth it.
And one of the interesting tables too is right behind us here. We've got a pop-up exhibit that's put on by the Manitoba Museum, looking at the history of Black Manitoba, and that goes back more than 100 years. I mean, what does it mean to you to have this represented too?
Well, they're the stepping stone here. They're the ones that said, you know what, this is what we want to do. We acknowledge that our museum is not up to date as to representation for Black history, and we want to make a difference. And so this is how this whole project and this whole partnership came about, and we're so happy to work with them.
And yeah, why is that important that Black history in Manitoba is represented at the Manitoba Museum? Like, what does that mean to you?
It means that we're being acknowledged. For a long time, it's been overlooked. The history of Canada is not a pretty one when it comes to Black history, but it's the way that we represent it outside of these museum walls and outside of our own community. It's lacking. So we need places like this to be more involved and be able to educate our province about Black history and its importance, because it's like we're Black 365 days a year, and there's a lot to be recognized about our contributions to this country and this community.
And you're taking it to the schools too? Thousands of students are learning about that? Yeah. Tell us quickly about that.
With our virtual field trips that the Manitoba Museum is putting on, we've been able to reach hundreds and thousands of kids, and it's such a great partnership, and they're working really, really hard. So if you go onto their website, you can find information, and also on ours, bhmwinnipeg.com.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
That's Nadia Thompson, who is the program director for Black History Manitoba. This is happening till 9. It's free tonight, but if you can't make it tonight, the pop-up exhibit is going to be here every Saturday during Black History Month, and there's plenty more events happening with Black History Manitoba. Check out their website. Janet?
Thank you so much, Emily. That's CBC's Emily Brass reporting live tonight from the Manitoba Museum. This person has been refining his craft since he was 13 years old. Now, a Winnipeg rapper and beat maker is doing a tour of Winnipeg libraries as an instructor. Osani Belkaran was chosen as one of the first makers in residence for the Millennium Library's Idea Mill. CBC's Janelle Henry reports.
Just mosey through the ends. How does it feel?
Osani Belkaran is going to work, except it's not at a music venue. It's at a library.
Idea Mill, which is at Millennium Library, but today we're at St. Boniface Public Library because I'm doing a library tour, I guess you could say.
About 2 years ago, the OB faced a major setback after his computer got stolen.
Yeah, it was tough.
Gone was his collection of music that he made over the last 10 years.
Someone told me, they're like, you can always make more work, but you can't make more of you. Like, you're still an artist, whether you have the art or you don't. So I was like, all right, well, yeah, I was like, I've definitely started from square one before. I was like, I'll just do it again. And I started making beats on my phone because I didn't have a computer. Let's try to start new projects.
That's how the half Guyanese, half Cree rapper discovered it's more fun making beats on his phone. Now in his local library tour, he's here to teach people the tricks of the trade.
And I'm doing drop-in beat making with the iPads. So we have a couple different apps on there that you can use, that anyone can use at any level.
A local musician, Joshua Mayo, says he came to the drop-in to expand his knowledge. Coming here, he's networking and trying new things.
You can download as an app on your phone, using your phone as MIDI to route to your computer. Just, yeah, it's kind of interesting stuff.
We gon' get it.
Whether you're coming out to make a beat or make some connections, this maker in residence is here to help you tackle your vision. At the end of this newly created residency, he will compile a sound library to add to his collection. Janelle Henry, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Weather specialist Fiona Odlum joins us now on the weekend of transitions. I guess the extreme cold warnings have ended.
They have officially ended. They ended this morning, but it still feels really cold outside. Let's take a look at our current conditions right now where, when you say that the extreme cold warnings are lifted and we're still sitting at -18, you're like, what the heck? And you see that wind chill of -31, it's still cold out. We're gonna warm overnight. While you're sleeping, it's gonna get warmer, and we're gonna see this trend continuing into next week. However, we have a big problem on our hands right now. I was just on Up to Speed on the radio, and we were getting these traffic tips, and they were saying right around Winnipeg, because of this little bit of snow, And the really strong wind has been doing a real big number on the perimeter around Winnipeg. And right now on the south perimeter, there's a huge crash there with multiple emergency crews. And so it's all because of this snow. Now, this little low that's been coming through has been the big troublemaker. And then with the wind, blowing snow and reduced visibility has been the big, huge issue in and around Winnipeg and in those exposed areas. So this wind is going to stay with us until about midnight. You can see those gusts into the 50s and 60s. And once we get to midnight, everything really starts to calm down. Our next wind event doesn't come back to us now until about Monday. Well, let's talk about tonight and that big warm up that's coming. So yeah, last night I was watching John and he was saying, oh, it's going to be minus 32 overnight. Well, we're going to cut that in half. At midnight, we're going to sit at minus 15 with a partly cloudy sky. That wind is starting to taper down at this point, not into the 60s, which is great news. Tomorrow morning, we're going to see a partly cloudy, mostly cloudy sky. First thing in the morning, minus 14 at around 8 o'clock. Light wind, not a huge issue. At 9 o'clock, that's when we start seeing the flurries coming. We're looking for about 1 to 3 centimeters of snow coming towards Winnipeg tomorrow. Now, that's going to be an event that happens throughout the day, wrapping early into the evening, which is great news. So this is what we're looking for in our short-term forecast. On Sunday, minus 10. And then this is where the really big warm-up comes. 0 degrees on Monday and breezy, and it stays with us again all the way through the week. Now, it is a full moon on our Sunday night. It's our February moon. It's called the snow moon, and it is the snowiest month of the calendar year. It in the Ojibwe culture, it is called the bear moon because this is when bear cubs are usually born, Janet. So it gives you a reason to head out and look at the sky this weekend.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Fiona.
You're welcome.
Well, wind is so often a factor to life here. Winnipeggers live in one of the windiest cities in Canada. The 3rd annual Windsock exposition is happening now down at the Forks. Marcy Marcusa recently visited with one of the founding artists behind this initiative, Jordan Van Soul.
This is a little story about wind and a local artist who loves wind and is building something unique here in his South Point Douglas backyard in Winnipeg. Hello, Jordan Van Soul.
Hey, hi, Marcy.
What are you up to? What is this?
Well, I'm waiting for the wind to blow, but when it does, I have an apparatus that I've constructed here that I think will enhance all our winters and our enjoyment of them.
A couple of years ago, Jordan here came up with the idea and partnered with the Forks to bring the Windsock Festival to us here in the city. So this was your idea, your baby, and this is this year's, your build for this year.
Yeah, it is, and you're right, the wind has always been blowing here, and I thought if we could capture it in something that Winnipeggers could recognize, which a Windsock will gauge that for us. So yeah, we've got 10 artists every year that put things together, and you know, it's a wide open, windy interpretation of what a Windsock could look like.
Now you are building, I'm going to pass you some of these. So you are building here in your yard, but how does this get moved? Do you move it piece by piece, or what's
No, you know what? I'm just going to quickly disassemble it, and part of the joy of it is that guerrilla aspect where you can put it up and take it down and do it quickly.
So these are going to be installed right on the very top? Is that the plan?
Right on the top.
Here?
Once the wind comes up, though, they're going to go.
What's the meaning of yours?
You know, I've always enjoyed how the sun sparkles off of the snow and the magic that is created by that. And by having motion in it, I'm trying to recreate that and have it way up 20 feet in the sky here, because once you get that elevation and that motion, it becomes magical.
What do you hope Winnipeggers think about? Is wind, like your love for wind comes from, you're talking about freedom of movement and the fact that we have so much of it here in Winnipeg. But where does that come from for you?
Well, I don't know. I think, you know, I remember hearing about the life of Vincent van Gogh and thinking as an artist, that poor guy was driven crazy by the wind. So I think that we who get plenty of wind on the prairie here, we have to find ways to celebrate it and include it in our lives.
And you've got lots of ways on your property here to experience it. You mentioned wind chimes, there's plenty of those.
Yeah.
People might have already experienced your love of wind at the Forks. Come on down here and have a look at this. This is a quirky little thing. So this, or these I should say, Come on here, Jordan. Why don't you roll underneath your big windsock apparatus?
Those are real beauties.
What is this?
Okay,
so Jason might even have to move back there so we can actually see this.
This was
what
the
is going
beginning
on
of the wind appreciation, and these things were meant as very simple devices that you could put on when you were on your skates. And yeah, and it's
how am I holding it? Am I doing that right?
Yeah, you're pretty much. Okay. Oh, there you are. Yeah.
There I am.
Yeah.
So people might have seen Jordan doing this at the Forks. What did you do? You put your skates on and then you put this on?
Yeah, because you have to get to one end of the rink or the path, so you can carry it like this against the wind, and it's like skating uphill. But once you arrive there, it's simply a matter of just holding the thing and taking full advantage of the wind.
What's your love of the Forks about?
Well, you know what, it really, in terms of Winnipeg, it is Winnipeg. It's the cradle of our modern city that we have.
So people can go down to the Forks and check out the Windsock Festival coming up in February. What's the name of your piece? There's kind of a theme behind it.
This year, it's All That Glitters Is.
Deep.
Deep. Or in this case, high.
Enjoy it. Thank you for telling us about it.
Thank you. It was great.
And good luck with the Windsock Festival. You can check it out at the Forks. Go to theforks.ca. Should we attempt this on skates?
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on, I can't resist. Does this work? I feel like I'm going to get very hurt.
This mysterious balloon floating over Montana has put further strain on U.S.-China relations. Is it a weather balloon? Is it a spy balloon? What the countries are saying about it after the break. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. China has expressed regret for the flight of a balloon over the United States. But despite that, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has postponed a visit to China in response. CBC's Magda Gabrisalasa reports.
The balloon is still in the sky, and the U.S. is rejecting the explanation from China on why it's there. China's foreign ministry says it's a civilian balloon used for weather-related research that was taken off track by the wind. But the Pentagon isn't buying that.
We are aware of the PRC's statement. However, the fact is we know that it's a surveillance balloon, and I'm not going to be able to be more specific than that. We do know that the balloon has violated U.S. airspace and international law, which is unacceptable. And so we've conveyed this directly to the PRC at multiple levels.
U.S. officials say the balloon traveled across part of Alaska, then Canada, before heading south. It was seen hovering over Montana. Officials say they reacted quickly to protect against the collection of information, and that there was no harm to the public or military. Ottawa also says it's monitoring the incident and has summoned China's ambassador.
We're monitoring it very closely. The minister insisted that the Chinese ambassador be called in to explain the situation from their point of view, and we will continue to stand up for Canadians' rights all the time in any issue that stands with China.
Meanwhile, the U.S. weighs its options on how to respond. It did respond in one way. Secretary of State Antony Blinken's trip to Beijing has been postponed. This would have been the first visit from a top U.S. official in years. Media outlets say he pressed pause on the trip because he doesn't want this balloon controversy to take over his meetings with Chinese officials. Magda Gabrisalasa, CBC News, Washington.
The federal Liberals have withdrawn a controversial amendment to their gun control bill. The amendment widened the definition of assault-style weapons to include some currently used as hunting rifles. CBC's David Cochran reports.
It is not our intention, as I noted, to move Amendment G46.
With those words, the Liberals waved the white flag on their controversial gun amendments, scrapping a plan that critics argued unfairly targeted hunters and farmers.
We have seen the most underhanded amendment in the largest hunting rifle ban in Canadian history, attempted in the most underhanded way.
The Liberals tried to push through surprise amendments banning a long list of long guns that included popular hunting rifles. This was done at a committee discussing a handgun ban and without following the normal process for studying legislation.
You know, I don't know what reasoning the Liberals ultimately had for these amendments, but I definitely will underline the incompetence part of it.
The outcry was swift, the backtracking inevitable, the gloating immediate.
Today's humiliating climb down that we have forced Trudeau to make is a temporary pause in his plan to ban hunting rifles. He is doing this because he got caught.
Even as they backtrack, the Liberals have to plot a new way forward on guns to clean up this mess while delivering on their election promise.
We are committed to not affecting hunting and at the same time taking the types of guns that are capable of mass carnage off the streets.
We will work with the government and with those involved in preparing a new strategy for an amendment. We will be there working with the committee for this new proposition. We hope it will be strong for all Canadians. And I repeat it, our fight is not against hunters. Our fight is against assault-style weapons for our safety.
As they figure out what's next, the Liberals find themselves in a political mess of their own making, with hunters and gun owners mad that they even tried this in the first place, and gun control advocates disappointed that it all fell apart. David Cochran, CBC News, Ottawa.
Fire departments across Canada are reporting a troubling new trend. Structure fires are spreading faster and burning hotter, making them even more deadly and destructive. Fire officials say it's because homes, offices, and their contents are increasingly made of synthetic and petroleum-based materials. CBC's Philip Lee Shannock reports.
Erin Watson says she owes her life to her dog, Jack.
Jack helped me push me out and find the way out because everything just turned into black smoke and I could barely breathe and see where I was going.
A fire had started in her laundry room, burning so quickly it melted the nail polish off her toes before she could get out of the house.
Within seconds, everything was on fire.
Firefighters say that speed is becoming more common. Not far from Watson's home, another went up in flames just after Christmas. 4 people were killed, including 2 children. Investigators found no working smoke alarms, so there was little warning in a situation where every second counts. The window to rescue anyone has narrowed. Firefighters used to be told they had 20 minutes. Now a room can become an inferno within 4.
So if you're in that room and you don't have a smoke alarm and it hasn't warned you in the early stages that there's a fire, you're probably not going to survive.
Across the country, fire fatalities are rising. In Ontario, they hit 133 last year, the highest in 20 years. While there are many factors, Ontario's fire marshal says household products made from petroleum-based synthetics mean fires burn faster and hotter. How fast these household materials burn and what's in the smoke that may make it difficult to get out is what they test for here. To do that, this lab burns common household materials like this sofa foam. The results are used to give safety ratings and aid firefighter training. In more than 2/3 of fatal fires, asphyxia is the cause of death.
Typically, it's the smoke that kills, or the carbon monoxide and other toxins in the smoke that will kill people.
I made it out alive. It was a miracle.
The best advice? Don't think it can't happen to you. Philip Lishanok, CBC News, Waterloo, Ontario.
Well, this beautiful shot of Winnipeg in the winter is enough to make the organizers of the upcoming Canada Winter Games envious. We'll explain after the break. And then weather specialist Fiona Odlum will bring us the Manitoba forecast. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. Prince Edward Island is getting ready to welcome thousands of athletes from across the country for the Canada Winter Games. It's the first time PEI has played host to these games since the early 1990s. But as Kate McKenna explains, one crucial element is in short supply.
Check out these snowy conditions. Perfect ahead of the Canada Winter Games. Just one catch. They're man-made.
The fall and the winter thus far has been extremely mild, but we're just kind of being patient with the process, knowing that it's PEI and it's February, that we are going to eventually get snow.
It has been a nail-biter for organizers of the games. Man-made or natural, they need snow.
It could all melt. You know, we do watch the forecast daily or semi-daily just to see where we're trending.
So in the meantime, every cold day these snow cannons run. They were purchased just for the games.
Well, the process has been going on really since December, and they've been stockpiling man-made snow any time that Mother Nature has given us the temperatures for them to make snow.
Organizers say they're not sure exactly how much snow they have made, but they know it's the most they've ever made, and by a lot.
The stakes are high. Thousands of athletes are traveling to the island. Some are already here, testing out courses they hope won't melt away.
Seems high right here.
The course's architect preaches patience and faith.
I've been building courses all over the country for the last 20 years. You just got to have faith that Mother Nature, it is Canada, winter will come.
So now they wait. The ski hill is covered and it's darn cold outside. But temperatures need to stay sub-zero. If a big melt comes, some PEI events could be moved off-island.
We have had contingency plans for all of our venues, and some of that may have involved kind of moving things to different venues, possibly in New Brunswick, but based on the amount of snow we've been able to make in the last 7 days, we're pretty confident knowing that we're going to be able to host.
The countdown is on until February 18th, as some islanders do the unusual. Hope it stays cold and pray for more snow. Kate McKenna, CBC News, Brookvale, Prince Edward Island.
Fiona Odlum joins us once again. Isn't PEI going to get some of the cold air that we've had?
Oh, absolutely. It's on its way just in time for the games. And, you know, we've had so much cold air. It created a beautiful photo for us. We had a beautiful sundog, and this Veer photo came to us. And, well, it shows us not only a beautiful sundog, but a beautiful pup out there enjoying that sunset. Thank you so much, Patricia from Fraserwood, for sending us this great picture. Okay, let's get to it. Our current temperatures right now. We're sitting at -18 here at the Forks. Trust me, it's going to warm up. I know it feels really cold still. -17 in Steinbach, -19 in St. Laurent. Still cool as we look towards Red Lake and Kenora, -20 wind chill into the -30s right now. The wind in the south is the biggest issue. We have snow sweeping through the north right now, and -28 degrees in Churchill. -15 currently in the Paw. Okay. We've been talking about how all these extreme cold warnings, they have lifted, but we do have this blowing snow advisory for Lake Winnipeg and Lake Manitoba. Now, this is in the northern basin where we could see, because of the wind, near blizzard-like conditions. This should be wrapping up just before midnight tonight, and things will start to calm down, which is great news. We do have some issues, though, and it's really centralized in towards this southwest corner. So we're going to start watching for this warm air to come through, and with that, a low is going to be moving in from Alberta, and you can see how that warm air is going to create this mixed precipitation, snow, sleet, and rain coming through into that southwest corner, and it really is going to be along that border there. We're going to be watching for that snow passing through Winnipeg. That is all going to be through Saturday, 1 to 3 centimeters there. The warm air starts coming in, and then this system is the one that is going to start moving through the northern region Sunday into Monday. So we're looking for several more centimeters of snow with this system. Okay, let's just take a look here. So this is in the next 24 hours, minus 2 hours there. So 4 centimeters in towards the God's Lake area. Sunday into Monday, that's when we start seeing more snow coming towards you. My system doesn't go that far out. This is tonight. 2 centimeters left to Barons, 3 into Sioux Lookout. Then this is the Saturday afternoon situation where we're looking for 3 centimeters in towards that Winnipeg Portage area. Tonight, we're going to be looking for temperatures to be around -20, snow in Dryden, 2 centimeters. Looking for blowing snow throughout the Winnipeg region. And as we move west, blowing snow will also be an issue with a clearing sky with just a touch of snow. Watching for light snow through the northern region as well, 2 to 4 centimeters in Island Lake. And then tomorrow we have a risk of afternoon flurries in Churchill, about a 60% chance of that happening to you. Flurries throughout the day, all throughout the central and southern portion of the province. And then as we look towards even Western Ontario, we're going to be seeing a good amount of snow. Now, here's the thing about this snow. The snow actually, we heard, absorbs sound. So I asked meteorologist Terry Lang from Environment and Climate Change Canada about it.
It actually is a phenomena. When the snow is falling, and it's usually the big fluffy flakes that this is the phenomena that's seen the most. When they fall together, like there's a lot of air in between them, a lot of airspace in between those flakes, and that's how the sound gets absorbed. So I think, a lot of people will often wake up and think, why does something seems different? It's because it's quiet, and a lot of the noise, like noise from the streets and all that kind of stuff, is all being absorbed into the snow, into these air pockets. And then as the snow gets older, it gets blown around and starts settling. Those air pockets kind of get, well, they don't always leave, but they certainly get reduced quite a bit, and that whole effect kind of goes away.
And Terry told me that, after we get a snowfall and you walk in the snow and you hear that crunchy noise, that's the air coming out. So kind of like a snow burp. Isn't that cool?
Okay, it's very cool.
That's
cool. I never knew. Thanks, Fiona.
Welcome.
See you in a little bit. By 2035, the federal government wants every new vehicle to be all electric. Is that something we can afford? The story coming up. By 2035, the federal government wants every new vehicle purchased in Canada to be all electric. One big question, given the price point for electric vehicles now, who can afford them? Katerina Georgieva headed to a dealership to find out more.
Here's a great example of an automobile that would actually provide somebody with decent transportation and give them a low price point.
It's a used car, under $20,000, but it's not an electric vehicle. What are we looking at for EVs?
So far, what we're seeing is everything's going to be in excess of $55,000 to $60,000 Canadian at this point in time.
That's on his lot, of course. There's a wide range of price points. Nissan, Chevrolet, and Kia offering vehicles in the $40,000 to $50,000 range. But the higher prices, not just an EV problem, it's auto in general. According to this report from October by autotrader.ca, the average price of a new vehicle in Canada was about $57,500, the highest ever recorded. For used, average price was about $37,000, almost 20% more than same time the previous year, though the prices softened a bit between July and October.
The monthly payments have gone from somewhere in that $500 to $600 range, and if you're on the Lexus side, for example, whether it's new or used, it could be in the $1,200 a month range.
The costs of EVs are high because of the technology.
The more competitive we are, the more our consumers are going to be able to afford the product because the technology is expensive.
But it's not just a price point issue. Supply is tight. Godfrey doesn't have any on his lot. At an automotive conference in Detroit last month, experts talked about some of these issues, about how high costs are plaguing families across the continent and how transportation can be a real barrier for low-income and moderate-income families when it comes to their ability to live their best lives. But another expert pointed out that it might be a tough pitch to get automakers to actually bring down their price points when they've managed to achieve a seller's market. And yet, two major automakers appear to be starting a price war. Ford is slashing its new Mustang Mach-E electric vehicle by $6,000 after Tesla dropped its prices by 20% in some cases.
One could argue that the average consumer can't afford these vehicles, that they're often secondary vehicles in many households and luxury purchases. That will need to change if we're going to hit these aggressive, targets of 100% better electric vehicles by 2035.
All the while, families on a budget already have a hard time finding a personal vehicle at a low price point. I asked him, once he gets EVs on his lot, is he worried about being able to sell at the higher price points?
I also think that what will happen is manufacturers are going to recognize, distributors are going to recognize that, look, we need to bring our price points down to match what consumers can afford. We want to be able to sell those vehicles. And so we'll find ways to distribute those vehicles to consumers. I just hope it's not on these long-term finance contracts that extend out into, instead of 7 or 8 years, longer terms than that. I hope we don't turn into a mortgage company on finance contracts with battery electric vehicles.
Katerina Georgieva, CBC News, Windsor.
Your 7-day forecast and daily lifts still to come. We'll be right back.
The warm-up has begun. We're looking for -8 tomorrow, 1 to 3 centimeters of snow throughout the day. By Sunday, -10. And then here is the big, huge warm-up. It stays with us all week, and have no fear, it does start to cool down as we get towards Festival.
Okay.
That's always a concern, right?
Yeah, well, because you don't want stuff to melt.
No, you
but
don't.
Like minus single digits for Festival would be amazing.
That's okay.
Not too cold. You know, here in Manitoba, we still have plenty of winter left before golf season.
But I'm sure some folks are already daydreaming of sinking that long putt on a course this summer. Well, they're going to have some competition.
Absolutely. Excited parents captured this magic golf moment for today's Daily Lift.
Did you get that? I got that on video. Holy crap! Walker.
15-month-old Walker Martin's first ever putt on a putting green. He had his toy golf club there. Talk about beginner's luck. He sinks it. Hole in one. Nick Martin, his dad, says his wife and mom-in-law took this little boy for a bike ride in North Vancouver. Just happened to come across a putting green.
That video that my wife took, Brooke, she was the filmer, was probably Walker's third putt. They had just got there, and he ended up sinking this 30-foot putt from one side of the putting green to the other.
Okay, I was wrong. It was his third putt, but I still think it's pretty good.
That's amazing.
It's still pretty good.
Yeah.
He loves his toy golf clubs, apparently, and his dad says he expects they'll be out on the links a lot in the future.
No pressure, though. You can do whatever you want. If you want to be a golfer or not, but...
Exactly. But be a golfer.
Be a golfer.
Have an amazing weekend. See you on Monday.